Welcome to the Wealth Matters podcast, where investors come together to better understand how to build passive cash flow and create generational wealth without all the confusing mumbo-jumbo. Here's your host and co-author of Amazon #1 bestseller, Alpesh Pamar.
Welcome to Wealth Matters podcast. I'm going to talk to my friend Sam Khairi today. And Sam actually lives used to live in the same neighborhood. He's still in the same city. So we met before. So I have known him for over a couple of years. So I'm very excited to see him grow from having close to $500,000 of student debt and growing pretty much paying that off and growing into a real estate investor. So I'm looking forward to it. Welcome, Sam.
Thank you, Alpesh. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Sam, so tell us something funny or interesting about yourself.
Sure. I'd say interesting because I find it interesting. I'm originally from Canada. I've been here about in the U.S. about 10 years with my wife. Still miss Canada, where we still consider ourselves Canadian, and can't wait to go back and visit family. And every time we do, we don't miss the cold. I'll say that. Oftentimes in the Bay Area, we kind of travel to see snow up in Tahoe, but every time we go to Canada, that's kind of the true cold that we feel. So
yeah, that's different.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's bone chilling in those temperatures. So
and which part of Canada were you in?
We're originally from Toronto.
Of course.
Raised in Toronto.
Yeah.
No, I love it there. It's been it was great growing up in Toronto. It just kind of like it kind of formed us into what we are today, to be honest. Like without it, I think we would have turned out a little different. So really
That's
thankful
great.
for that. Yeah, absolutely.
So tell us your story about accumulating large student debt.
Sure. We didn't know it was happening until it happened. We knew it was getting up there, and to be honest, we just kind of going through school. We were really focused on our education and our getting our degrees and becoming professionals in our field, and just doing it at any cost. It didn't really hit home for us until after we graduated, and obviously got jobs and kind of settled in after getting married. That kind of opened up the books and looked at what everything had accumulated to, and now it was time to kind of roll up our sleeves and kind of tackle it. And that was an eye-opening moment for us. It's kind of putting ourselves through school through the years and getting those degrees. And we kind of talk about degrees kind of getting educated don't necessarily provide wealth or get you rich, but it kind of gets you a really good job. And that's exactly where we found ourselves. Right after graduating, we were fighting to get good jobs and good paying jobs, and being in the Bay Area, we were so excited about that. But that debt weight was really weighing on us. And it was after graduating that just really felt it after that.
And how much was the total debt?
It was around $450. And my wife went to school down here in the U.S., just being international students and things like that. I think that was kind of the bulk of it.
Okay.
It probably wouldn't have been as much. Like I said, putting ourselves through school and as well as paying for housing and things like that. It adds up. It adds up relatively quickly.
So my next question was going to be, is school system in Canada similar to US? Because of course here in US, most of the people end up having a lot of huge student debt, right? Is Canadian school system similar?
It's similar. I think a lot of the post-secondary education, we call it, is they're subsidized by the government, and the universities are public universities, whereas they're subsidized, and the amount of debt that's accumulated is not as much. Just because of the help that the government pays or provides. But again, just the difference was that being down here, we couldn't tap into that government money to be able to finance some of those student loans, and it ended up being a lot of it was private loans that we had to tap into. So again, just something that kind of weighed on us, and higher interest rates and things like that. So it was definitely tough. I'll say.
So what kind of interest rates are you looking at when you get the private loans?
Closer to double digits. I remember,
Whoa.
yeah. I mean, some of these
Ooh.
were like I said, the private loans, right? I mean, especially being international, there's no guarantees that you're going to stay here, and they just want to make sure that they're getting their money back
Right.
relatively quickly, as well as getting their interest rates as high as possible. So it's definitely it's close to double digits.
Wow.
Yeah,
So, and again, I don't want to talk about myself here, but thank God, and I'm grateful to my parents that I did my engineering in India, and of course, it's education is way cheaper, or
right.
it was way cheaper in India at that time. This is about 25 years ago,
Yeah.
right? Not anymore, or 3 years ago. But my parents covered all the costs. But on the flip side, I moved here to US and did my master's in computer science. And I don't know how, but I never liked that. So when I finished my education here, I had $0 debt. I
Right.
had no debt. And I don't know how I did it because I didn't bring my parents were not filthy rich. We come from, middle class, right? So I came
Yep.
here with $500, but I worked my back off, right?
Right.
I did like 80 hours grind in 7-Eleven and all those
That's
stores
amazing.
while I was doing my master's. So every time I would pay up my fees. Otherwise, I think I would have got out with like over 100K worth of debt,
Right.
but
Right.
somehow I survived.
No, that's amazing. Yeah. I do have to give kudos to my wife. I know she's not on this call, but I mean, she's very similar. She held 3 jobs while going through school, putting herself through. She got her JD and MBA, a
Wow,
4-year program. She actually finished in 3 years. So
nice.
a lot of credit goes to her as to how she did it and what she did in those 3 years. So that's a big plug for her.
That's great.
Yeah.
So, what was going through your mind when you saw that you guys have this much debt?
Just a matter of like how is this going to get accomplished? How is this going to get how are we going to pay this back? Because it's not going to be forgiven. Like I said, a lot of the stuff that we had was private loans, right? So we knew that was never going to be forgiven.
Right.
There was talks of government
Even
forgiveness
if
programs
Biden
and things
becomes
like that, right?
president, you knew.
Exactly, right? It's like it's on us, right? So it's just a matter of kind of looking at it a little different. Is that okay? So we have this thing in front of us, right? How are we going to tackle it, and how are we going to kind of attack it and not let it hold us back from what we were trying to accomplish? So just kind of looking at everything and kind of at the time putting everything on a spreadsheet and just kind of looking at the bottom line, and big number. It was a really big number. We didn't know how we were going to do it. It kind of took a long time for us to even get our heads around it. But yeah, it was just first step for us. It was accept it, right? I mean, it's something that was done, and it's not going to change. So let's figure out how we want to deal with it.
So, once you figured out that you have so much debt, did you find a mentor or followed some kind of process to get out of this debt?
So we kind of we started educating ourselves on just a lot of like free things online as to what other people have done and are doing. And one of the things that was really important for us was basically which we had never done, but I kind of talked about it, is that interest rate, that silent killer, right? It's just what are we going to prioritize, right? Was it the dollar amount? Was it the interest rate and things like that, right? So what we ended up doing was the different loans that we had, we kind of started focusing on the ones that with the higher interest rates, and we did a few things, kind of refinancing some of the stuff, lumping a lot of things together, bringing the interest rates lower to be able to kind of because end of the day, nobody wants to pay more interest on something that you're borrowing.
Right.
So that's one of the things that we did. We prioritized and just started attacking it. And in our mind, it was the right thing to do was to focus on the ones that had the higher interest rates and get those down as much as possible. And that was a really good first step, just kind of bringing those balances down, and then ultimately maybe refinancing some of those into and lumping them together into something smaller and more kind of something that we could digest.
That's great. So,
Yeah.
did you pay off the entire student debt now?
Very close.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's awesome,
we're
man.
still about 10, I would say 10 to 20% in or left in it. But yeah, it's been a long road. It's been fun and very challenging. And like when you're faced with a situation like this, like you're coming up with with solutions, and you're dedicated. You got to keep at it, and it's a constant reminder every month, every year when we do our taxes, even that it's still hanging over our heads, right? It's still something. It's still dead weight that's with us, so it needs to be taken care of.
No, I agree. But you had a great point, right? When your back is against the wall, that's the time you start figuring things out, right? If you
Yeah,
try to run away, there is no other way, right? So the best
right,
way is to figure out, you
right.
know.
No, I mean, it's especially when, like I said, it's not going to go away, right? I mean, at
Right.
some point, I'm not a tax person, nor am I going to pretend to be, but at some point, it just there were no tax benefits for us either. So it again just continues to be dead weight, and
Right.
like I said, we're reminded every single month and every single year that this is still ongoing, and we have an ongoing every year our kind of spreadsheet that we've built over the years, and we oftentimes go back to that year one, day one, where we first started, and look at where we are today. It's incredible, and very thankful for it.
That's great. Yeah, and this also, I started thinking about when you were talking Robert Kiyosaki's philosophy about good debt and versus bad debt, right? So this would be a bad debt, right? Because you mentioned that it does not benefit you any from any perspective in taxes either, right? So this is like just a hanging weight on your head, and you got to take care of it. Good debt is where you acquire real estate, right? And it's that real estate, the rent, etc., is covering all the mortgage plus expenses and still gives you some cash flow.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I keep saying the dead weight. That's exactly what it is. It's it did provide us opportunity to get educated.
Right.
Putting ourselves through schools, which in my opinion, it opens doors. I mean,
Yes.
education, that's all it does. It opens doors, and it kind of provides you opportunities, ways that you wouldn't necessarily get otherwise. But again, we'll kind of talk about that when you get into investments and things like that. But again, just still dead weight
Right. Right.
as a result, right?
And I agree, right? So on the flip side, when gurus are saying you don't need education, just go out and do things, and I somehow never agree with it because I'm here because I got educated. If I didn't have a computer engineering degree, computer science, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have done achieved anything what I have, and then was able to move the money I earned from my IT gig into real estate, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, there is also on
I,
the flip side, if you can't get educated, yeah,
yeah.
that's fine.
I think one of the things I mean, I'm kind of on the not getting into kind of education system and things like that. I think one of the things that I did appreciate going through school, maybe wasn't necessarily the education itself, but just what it did do is it provided me with a way of thinking and problem solving. To me, that was huge, right? That was just putting a problem in front of you and trying to figure out what the solution is. That's what I got from school, not necessarily the engineering degree that I got, which I haven't used, to be honest,
Right.
in years of working. But I do appreciate, just going through it and the grind of trying to figure out solutions for
Right.
problems. That's what I got from school for the most part.
No, that's a great point as well, because I don't think I have used my degree either, but it's more the grind, not just problem solving, but just learning everything on my own, right?
Yeah.
Without any support system, no parents, no one. I had to figure out, I mean, starting from my day, waking up, preparing breakfast, all the way to preparing dinner,
Right.
doing laundry, and while working as well as studying, right? The
Right.
organizational skills I developed over the years, I wouldn't have done that without, if
No,
I was not
absolutely.
in the school system.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, hey, let's talk about real estate. So,
Sure.
while you were having so much debt, did you think that you should not invest in real estate till you are done with this debt, or how did you figure that out? Because
So
that's the
I'll
question a
tell
lot
you.
of people ask me,
Right.
actually.
Right. I'll tell you a funny story. I mean, it's pretty sad, but it's funny at the same time. Like after a few years of kind of doing the debt consolidation and pay down, we hired a financial advisor essentially. And
I
you
know
just
where this is going.
constantly,
No,
yeah,
I'm
I mean,
just kidding.
it's the story is familiar, right? It's like just constantly was reminded of like, no, you need to get rid of this before you can do anything else. No, sorry, I can't do anything for you until you get rid of this. That like the answer was always no, no, no. You can't do anything. Don't do
Right.
anything else until you like cut your cable, cut your like cell phone bill in half, and all that stuff. Just focus on reducing your student loans, and let's in 10 years we'll revisit. Right? It was like
Right.
kept pushing, right? Kept pushing on. It's like that doesn't sound right. It's like there's got to be something there we can do and we should be doing differently to be able to kind of have both, right? I mean, we can't
Right.
wait to get our life started. So that was the start of it, man. It was just hearing that no answer over and over again. I think it kind of lit a fire under us as to what we got to go talk to more people, right? And just
Right.
kind of talking to more folks and networking and just being able to like figure out how we can do it. That was really the pivotal moment in our lives, to be honest.
So when and how did you start investing in real estate then?
Sure. We started right after that. We said, no, we're doing this. We're gonna find ways to achieve our goals. And through some friends, we got introduced to real estate. The very first property was a turnkey property, a single family home that we got into. Again, didn't have much capital to our name, and trying to get into a turnkey property, they oftentimes require you to pay cash. Figured it out.
Right. Yep.
We got ourselves into more debt. And now we're getting into some really good debt, right? Some of
Right.
the stuff that pays you back, and that's what we were able to kind of get in, and that was our very first deal, a turnkey single family property that we were able to pick up, and numbers worked, still cash flowed. It kind of opened our eyes to look, we can do it, right? I
Yeah.
mean, it's not
Yeah.
having debt, having a student loan is not a death sentence by any means, and you should be able to think about other things on the side.
And that's a great point, right? If you and I can do it, anyone can do it. That's what I
Yeah.
tell everyone.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, everyone's got their own story, and I'll be honest, right?
Exactly.
Everyone's got their own path and things like that. But it's just everyone looks for that. Okay, that's great, but how can I do it? That's where I love sitting down and talking to people. Is like it's the how, and it's a big puzzle, right? I mean, you got to try to figure out how you can do it, and you can do it. The answer, the big thing is you can do it, and everybody should be doing it. Let's just figure out how we can get it done.
Oh, that's awesome. So when did you acquire this property and how did it work out for you?
This was in, I want to say, 2018.
Okay.
So that was in 2018, and it worked out. It worked out great. We were scared out of our minds, as you can imagine. The very first investment property we had gotten into, and at that point, we had bought our primary residence, which again, we were on that path of
Wow.
go to school, get a job, have a family, buy your first house, and what I mean, and
Yeah.
we were there, right? We're like, all right, we need to make a change, and that's how we got into trying to get into real estate. So yeah, I mean, it worked out great. It was a solid property. It had its ups and downs, and we learned a lot from that property, and just really a stepping stone into what we ended up doing.
What has been your best real estate deal so far?
Oh man, am I allowed to say all of them have been good, or?
Yeah, yeah. As long as you can share the
But
numbers.
it's yeah, no. So that first one, I'll say it's been our best one just because of a number of reasons. It was a good cash flowing property. It was a good starter home for us to kind of get our feet wet. It cash flowed. It showed us what we can accomplish. But on the flip side, what it also did, it actually put us through some stuff where, all right, when things start to go south, how do you handle situations, and are you able to kind of maneuver through some of the challenges? And we ended up doing that. So that to me, that the very first one has been key, both on the upside and the downside as well. So we're actually in the process of selling it right now, and again, just moving on to bigger and better things, hopefully in the future. So
Yeah, you are going through the same path almost every investor takes, right?
yeah,
I mean, some people, they just want to be passive and they'll buy one single family to two, three, four, and they stop there, right?
yep,
And some of us, they go through the grind, right? One single family to duplex to fourplex to, 9 unit, which I did, and then, jump onto the bigger,
Right, right.
basically scalability, right? So what kind of mistakes did you make when you were starting out?
To be honest, I don't know. I think I would have done a little more due diligence on everything we did. I don't necessarily, and so on the second property, I'll kind of use that as an example, in that everything was great until it wasn't, or it potentially couldn't have been, or wouldn't have been great. So I bought that property, and again, cash flowed really well. And what ended up happening was as the lease was coming up, I realized that the renters were paying much higher premium on rent that I would have otherwise gotten out of somebody else. So I was basically in a place where if the tenants left, I would be stuck with a property that I couldn't rent for as much money. So that's what I mean by doing more due diligence. That's kind of the mistake I made, was not doing that work up front, and just going with it and trying to figure it out, which I definitely would do different today.
That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The
Thank you
due
for
diligence
all.
is huge. Yeah.
And every time, every deal I do, every time I go back and I'm like, I should add this one more step to my due diligence, right?
Yeah.
So
I
it
mean,
doesn't stop.
right. I mean, it's yeah. I mean, as long as you learn from your mistakes and your
Yes,
shortcomings, that's what's key, in my opinion.
that is the key.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sam. Let's take a quick break. And after the break, we will go through the same 5 questions I ask every guest.
You're listening to the Wealth Matters Podcast. The Wealth Matters Podcast. For more info about what we do, check us out at wealthmatters.com. It's wealth, WEALTH, matters, MATRS.com.
Welcome back to Wealth Matters Podcast. I am talking to Sam Khairi on how he went from close to 500K worth of student loan debt to real estate investor. So, Sam, are you ready for fire round?
Let's do it.
Okay, let's go. Would you be changing any business or investment strategy after this pandemic is over?
I think I'll be more bullish on multifamily. I think what I've learned is, and the numbers supported is that it's one of the most resilient asset classes. And going through the pandemic, everyone kind of put the brakes on at first, and kind of was shy about doing deals. And as did I. I'm not gonna lie, kind of stopped looking at the market and stopped looking at deals. But that's what I'll be doing differently, is in that looking at the market, the markets that I've chosen, and just go all in.
Favorite real estate or finance or any other related book?
So I like the book. So I just posted about this the other day. Randy Pausch. It's called The Last Lecture. I'd say one of the first books that I ever read cover to cover, probably about 10, 12 years ago. And it's exactly about that. It was a professor who learned he had cancer, and terminal cancer, and knew was going to pass. And he ended up giving a last lecture, knowing that was going to be his last ever lecture in life. So for anybody who hasn't read that book, I highly recommend it.
Really?
It's a pretty good book. Obviously, he's passed now, but it talks about a lot of the things we talked about today, and that just follow your passion, follow your dreams, and just go for it.
Awesome. Yeah, I will have to put that in my reading list now. Yeah. Any tool or website you recommend or you use every day?
I can't do without my there's a few now that I think about it. By my underwriting tools it's always open in the background, and I'm starting to kind of get into outsourcing a lot of the stuff that I do. So I'm into like the Fiverr and Upwork and those types of websites. So I highly recommend just doing some due diligence and getting some help. I didn't do that up front. Did a lot of the work myself, but I'm now quickly realizing I should have been doing that from the beginning. So it's not necessarily a tool or a website per se, but I'd say start outsourcing as much as you can.
I agree.
It'll pay dividends.
Yeah. Any advice for beginner investors?
Just do it. I mean, this paralysis by analysis is huge, and it's with us everywhere. Just do it. Get your spouse on board. Get on the same page, and just go for it. And I mean that in the best way. I don't mean to go bet the farm, but just just do your due diligence and just move forward one step at a time, incremental steps.
How do you give back?
I share my personal information everywhere I go. A lot of folks, they have kind of business accounts and things like that, but I put my cell phone out there. People text me, call me anytime, any day. That's my way of getting back. Anything I can do. My biggest thing in life is if I can change even one person's mindset or mentality on how to do things differently, I'm good with that. I'm not here to change everybody's life or turn everybody a real estate investor by any means. It's just a matter of you can do it, and let's figure out how you can do it. So that's my way of giving back. Until I'm able to do a lot more than that, I share my personal information, and I'm open to talk to anybody.
That's awesome. How can my listeners reach out to you?
Sure, I'm gonna give my personal cell phone number. So
yeah.
415-613-8870. Definitely check out the website though. I'll have to do a plug. So it's aftocapital.com, AFTO capital.com. A lot of great stuff. We also have Instagram, Facebook pages as well for those that want to follow and get some content and connect with us.
Thank you so much, Sam. I definitely learned a lot about student debt and the mindset you had to develop to get to where you are right now.
No, absolutely. Thanks a lot for having me. This was great. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, man.
Thanks for listening to the Wealth Matters podcast. If you enjoyed it, please leave us a 5-star rating on iTunes so others can enjoy the show too. Have a great week and happy investing!